And we are live to the world. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, or wherever you are in the world. My name is Jason Cooper. I'm your host today. And today we're talking on mindful leadership. And I'm discussing all things to do with authentic leadership and discussing different topics with different types of people from around the globe. We'll be discussing from actual leaders themselves in their field, people that discuss spiritual coaching, sales, and other business styles of leadership. So a wonderful array of collected types of people. Today, my very, very special guest is Professor Rowe, PhD. I love PhD. I think that's a wonderful name. He's an international leadership guru. He's the soft leadership and founder of MSR Leadership Consultants in India. He's an international leadership guru with 39 years of experience. Wow, that's incredible. 49 books. Wow. I don't know how you get the time to do all of that. I can barely start one. So that's all absolutely incredible. You've got a massive accolade of experience. So many phenomenal books. This is the one of them, but I'm sure we'll discuss a little bit more in detail as we go on. I've got a whole ream of stuff about you, but I can carry on me talking, but it's not really about me today. It's about you, Professor Rowe. So without further ado, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent. You're absolutely welcome. Before we go into the sort of nitty-gritty, what you're actually doing day-to-day basis, could you tell me about a little bit about your life to date, but where you actually came from before you studied to be a professor, and all your accolades and your academic achievements and everything like that? Tell me a little bit more about that so we can really understand what you're about and who you're about.
Yeah, I came from a toxic family and grew up in a toxic environment. And my life has been full of struggle and challenges from my birth to till date. So my father was a alcoholic litigant, and my mother is still alive. She's a naysayer,
Okay.
and she often complains. That's the kind of family I was born. Right from my childhood, I have been passionate about education and learning, and I was born in a poor family,
Okay.
and my father had a tea stall. So I used to support my father because I am the elder son in my family. So I used to go for education. After completing my classes in the school, I go back to tea stall. Used to support my father
Okay.
in a tea stall, like washing dishes, or sometimes collecting cash from the customers, and then preparing some snacks. All those things I was doing in the tea stall. So my life has been a struggle since my childhood. So I wanted to study regularly, but my family was not in a position to fund my education. I had an ambition to serve my country. So I joined Indian Air Force when I was 19 years old. That means I was not even a graduate. I discontinued my graduation. Then I joined into Indian Air Force.
Oh, wow.
Uh, After I joined the Indian Air Force, I came out of some of my negative tendencies and the negative qualities because defense people are very good, very honest, ethical. So the Indian Air Force gave me good opportunity to become a better citizen and a healthy person, and they started giving good food, and I used to study, and I used to do workout, and I used to do parade, all those things I used to do. So I enjoyed the life. So
Wow.
after joining the Indian Air Force also, I didn't stop my learning and education. So I acquired various qualifications from the Indian Air Force.
Hmm.
I completed my graduation because that I stopped
Hmm.
when I joined the Indian Air Force. Then I acquired my DME, Diploma in Aeronautical Mechanical Engineering. Then I acquired a master's, which we call MA.
Hmm.
Then again acquired labor laws, that is postgraduate diploma course in labor laws.
Hmm.
Then I acquired 2 years diploma in business management. Then I completed my MBA,
Okay.
Master of Business Administration. All these qualifications I acquired in Indian Air Force, and I joined the lowest rank in the Indian Air Force. I used to get little money, so whatever the money I got, I used to fund support my parents because I am the elder son. Whatever the little money I had, I used to invest for my education and qualifications. And also, I didn't enjoy my life even in the Indian Air Force. When I was at my home for 18 to 19 years, I didn't enjoy my life because I used to go to school, come back to school, then again I used to go to tea stall and I was helping my father. So
Hmm.
again, Indian Air Force, I was doing my duty, and the military duty is very tough. So I used to do that duty. Then
Yeah.
again, after duty, I used to invest my time for education and learning. I used to get annual leave and casual leave from Indian Air Force. Even that time, that leave also I utilized only for my education and learning.
Hmm.
So I have been struggling throughout my life before joining Indian Air Force. Also, I struggled a lot, but after joining the Indian Air Force, I worked hard, and I'm grateful to Indian Air Force for making me as a healthy citizen. I am
Hmm.
always grateful to Indian Air Force. So when I was serving in the Indian Air Force, my father-in-law has invited me to join into his trading business. So again, I had some problem because my brother-in-law backstabbed. So he backstabbed and he cheated me. Then my
Right.
father-in-law has backtracked. My brother-in-law backstabbed and my
Hmm.
father-in-law backtracked. Then I left business and I entered the teaching field.
Wow.
So I came to know that I discovered that teaching is my passion and teaching is my calling. I started enjoying the way I taught, and students supported me a lot, and they enjoyed my classes. Then I started sharing my knowledge free with the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was not blessed with regular education. I was not blessed with great education, and I was not blessed with great parents. On
Hmm.
the other hand, I was cursed with a toxic family background. So I thought, let students not suffer because of lack of education or
Yeah.
lack of guidance. Because I didn't have any mentors, coaches, or right teachers from my childhood. So when you look at Nobel laureates, I have done the research on Nobel laureates. I
Hmm.
came to know that most of the Nobel laureates are successful because they had teachers, mentors, coaches when they were in the young age. They spotted the talent in these
Yeah.
Nobel laureates. They advised the Nobel laureates to pursue one particular line of discipline. So they entered those disciplines and worked very hard, did research for many years. Ultimately, they have won Nobel Prizes. So that's the thing I have learned. So I thought of inspiring students and building them as global leaders.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
in the year 2007, I joined for a PhD in soft skills. I have done research for 4 years, and in the year 2011, I acquired my PhD in soft skills.
Okay, that's really
So,
phenomenal. What that your story to date is absolutely incredible, and my heart goes out to you because that's really a lovely, authentic story, and it shows character in you and shows a lot of strength of the background that you actually came from, and like it shows loyalty and family strength, and what you've actually had to do, giving money back to the family when you were paid very little, but you've also looked at it and applied it back to your brain, really, and your academic brain, which is wonderful. So you've done an incredible job there. Could you describe to me what you do? Describe to me exactly how what you do on a day-to-day basis now, because we've sort of gone from the past, which is wonderful. And I just want to, if you can, in a few words, describe to me what you do, really.
Since I have come from a military background, that is
Yeah.
having served in the Indian Air Force, I am basically a morning man. Morning 4 o'clock, I get up every day.
Wow.
I keep writing books. And in the year 2011, I acquired my PhD in soft skills. And in the year 2010, I became an author. So from 2010 to 2020, I have written 60 books. Out of 60 books, 49 books have been published. That means still 11 more books are yet to be published. And morning, I get up and I keep writing books. Okay, then I go to gym every day, and I 1 hour I go for walking to gym and coming back to gym, and 1 hour I do workout in the gym because I have come from a military background. Then again I come back, and if there are any training programs, I deliver training programs. Otherwise, I read online material, prestigious magazines and journals. Those things I read. Then again, in the evening, I remove unwanted material, and in the night, I prepare and plan what I am supposed to do in the next day. This is how I do it. So, for the last 10 years, what I have been doing, I worked in various educational institutions as a professor. And for the last 5 years, I am still unemployed, and I don't have any resources, financial resources, so many challenges. I still live in a rented double bedroom flat in India. I sleep on the floor. So I have so many financial constraints. Despite having financial constraints, I share my knowledge free with the world because I didn't get the ambience to acquire education. I didn't get any support or mentors. I didn't have coaches. I didn't have teachers. So I thought, why not to inspire the people, students across the world by sharing my knowledge free. So I opened a blog titled Vision 2030 1 Million Global Leaders. So I keep sharing my free quotations. I keep sharing my articles regularly on my blog and share that blog link on various social media platforms, especially on LinkedIn. I'm very strong in on LinkedIn. So this is how I do from morning to night. And also I have set my vision 2030 1 million global leaders. It's a non-profit initiative, and my vision is to build 1 million students as global leaders by 2030. Why? Because there is a leadership gap globally. That is leadership deficit. Because the baby boomers are retiring, millennials are not prepared to take up the leadership roles and responsibilities.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
I belong to Generation X. So I can serve as a bridge between baby boomers and millennials. Millennials are also known as Generation Y. So I want to bridge that gap. So I want to groom these young people, millennials or Generation Y, and Generation Z has also entered into the workplace. So I want to groom them as global leaders. So that's what I am doing. It's a non-profit initiative. I am doing it despite financial constraints and so many challenges.
That's absolutely incredible. I like the way that you pack so much in a day. That must be due to your military background, making you quite strict on the stuff that you do. And waking up at 4 in the morning, I don't wake up at 4 in the morning. I just don't do it, and I should do it. It's 6:30, 7 o'clock, and that's me. But for you to actually organize yourself in that sort of regime is absolutely wonderful. And you must have got yourself into a habit when you were in the military to set yourself up. Obviously, you've had something else in there in the middle. So it's okay to be having the military sort of mindset. But how did you build that habit to be so strict? But then how did you wanted to give back to people your knowledge and share that? What actually happened? What made you, I would say, anchor your state to make you want to do that?
Thank you for asking a wonderful question. See, I have acquired all these qualities from military because I joined the Indian Air Force, and I came from a toxic family,
Yeah.
and I joined the Indian Air Force. Indian Air Force has built certain qualities, and I'm flexible and adaptable, but at the same time I'm very tough also. I'm very religious and very strict in doing the things. So
Yeah.
I acquired that military mindset after I joined the Indian Air Force. So I maintained the same mindset.
Wow.
Although I left military many years ago, I still maintain the same mindset. And I get up 4 o'clock. I'm very strict in my timings, and I'm very religious in doing the things. Many people they plan, they don't execute, but
Yeah.
I'm very smart in execution. I have some plans, and I want the plans to be executed.
Hmm.
And I have timelines. Daily I have timelines. Daily I have targets. Every day morning, I thank God for gifting me one more day to share my knowledge free with the world, to add some value to the humanity. And every day night, I thank God. I express my gratitude. Yes,
Hmm.
these are the things I have done to me and to my family and to the world. So morning, I thank God for gifting me one more day to live in this world. Night, I express my gratitude to God for adding some value to the people across the world by sharing my knowledge.
Wow.
That's one. What is your next question? May I know? Yeah. What was your next question?
That's really quite inspirational for what you're actually doing now, and that's a really good way. I'm always interested in how people's minds work and their mindset. We'll get onto your books in a short while, but I'm actually quite intrigued because not many people do what you do, and I'm lucky enough at the moment to speak to some phenomenal people like yourself that has a similar sort of mind and mindset, and they set a regime of seeing what they want to do before they actually do it. Do you actually visualize what you do, or how do you work in that way?
Okay, I would respond to this question. See, uh, I believe in the power of subconscious mind.
Yeah.
So what I do every day night before I go to the bed, I give commands to my subconscious mind. Tomorrow I have to do some task. So when I give those tasks, what happens next day morning, my mind automatically goes towards those tasks. So
Okay.
morning when I get up, I start doing the same thing because already I have fed my subconscious mind. One.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
So in this way, I framed everything. For
Yep.
instance, I have a couple of goals in my life. Okay, so I feed my subconscious mind. Yes, this is my goal. I want to become president of India one day.
Yeah.
So I am becoming president of India. I am becoming president of India. I give commands to my subconscious mind. So what happens? I start thinking in that direction. And second goal I set is I want to win a Nobel Prize for my books. So what I say, I'm winning a Nobel Prize. I'm winning
Mhm.
a Nobel Prize. Like that, I give commands. And if I have any challenges also, I have this challenge. So I am coming out of this challenge. I am coming out of this challenge. So when I give the commands in that way, night before I go to bed, what happens? The subconscious mind becomes 18 times more powerful.
Absolutely.
So
So you go into
think,
the alpha or
yeah,
theta state. Yeah.
yes, yes, very smart. Yeah, you are very smart. You are very smart and brilliant. So what happens? The things are processed throughout the night. Next
Yep.
day morning, we get tuned in that way,
Okay.
and we start. In case if there is any problem, we get solutions next day morning because already I have fed my subconscious mind in the night with the problem. Next day morning, I get my solution automatically.
Yeah.
And I also set my goal in the night in the subconscious mind. Yes, I want to become president of India. So I say that I am becoming president of India. So what happens? I start thinking in that direction only. So there is
Yeah.
no room for negativity, toxic activities because my mind is well framed. It's
So
with
you've already fine tuned it into a place. So
tuned.
you say
Excellent,
affirmations before you go to bed, and you get those
excellent.
affirmations while you're in that sort of relaxed pose, because that's the best place where the subconscious and the unconscious actually connects in the
Yeah.
alpha, and then you go to the theta state, and then I can't remember the other states, the other some countries. But if you say to your mind and program into your mind the right thoughts at the right time, your brain will find the answer. And it obviously does, because you're thinking about it when you go to sleep. And when you wake up, you're in that state. Is that right?
Excellent. You understood well. You are very smart and very brilliant. So my books talk about this, the book which you are holding, the See Light in You at the back, So,
that's that one.
This is a book, See the Light in You.
Yeah.
This is the book. This is the bestseller, and this book talks about the power of subconscious mind. And this book, His Holiness Dalai Lama has written a foreword.
Yes, happy days. He
Noble
is
Lama.
one of my internal coaches. I use the Dalai Lama as one of my. I have 7 coaches in my head, and when I go to meditative state, he is. I have 7 different colors, and he's my 7th color, and he's the white color. So the Dalai Lama is. You're wonderful to actually do that with the Dalai Lama. So I totally understand and appreciate where you're coming from.
So I'm so grateful to His Holiness Dalai Lama that when I requested to write a foreword for this book, he has written. And the greatness with the book is that I have dedicated this book to the Vice President of India, Mr. M. Venkaiah Naidu. So this book is about mindfulness. It talks about various things: the power of subconscious mind, how to become great, how to achieve happiness, how to achieve greatness, how to lead life mindfully, how to lead life ethically. All those things are mentioned in this book. In case if we have any diseases or illness, we can come out of them with the power of mindfulness. So this book talks various aspects, which is very much essential in the current COVID world, because coronavirus has changed the world. It has transformed the world. It has thrown things out of the gear, and we humans are finding out ways and means to come out of this challenge. And we are almost close to achieving the success. We are almost close to getting the vaccine for this coronavirus. This book helps to come out of various challenges.
Yeah, of course. Just describe to me now, like there's lots of cool tech companies around the world. There's lots of cool tech companies in India, in Dublin, US, and all the latest ones. They're the latest trends. We know Google has a meditation area in there, and we know LinkedIn is also quite spiritual in that sort of area. How can sort of business leaders take on board this, what you've written, and other sort of areas to help them sort of grow, especially within these challenging times that we have right now? I think it's more of an awakening that we're actually happening right now. I personally believe that we're coming into something new, which is always good. The brain loves something new, and we get excited with something new. But a lot of people are saying it slightly differently in their own minds, and leaders are probably finding it a little bit more challenging now. How do you actually see that from what you've written and what you've discussed and what you've shared to the world?
See, when you look at the global companies like Facebook, Google, Apple, Amazon, they started focusing on mindfulness training programs.
Yeah.
Because mindfulness is the need of the hour. People have several challenges because of the VUCA. VUCA is the acronym for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. It has come because of the technology.
Yeah.
Technology is both good and bad. It all depends on how we use the technology. So technology has brought several challenges to humans, like growing depression, growing anxiety, growing suicides. Families are breaking up, and spouses are breaking up. People are having mental illness. So many challenges have come because of technology. But at the same time, technology is good because you and I are connected because of technology.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we can't throw the technology out. And technology, because of technology, people were connected across the world during the coronavirus time.
Hmm.
Otherwise, because there was social distancing and people are separate, so at that time technology helped all people to
Yeah,
connect,
it did.
and people worked from home. If technology were not there, people wouldn't have worked home. The economy would have been thrown out of gear totally. Thanks to technology, that the technology was not totally thrown out of gear because people worked from home. Technology helped to connect people.
Hmm.
So all those things have come. Above all, technology has connected people, and it has emphasized humanity, and it has made people humble,
Yeah.
emphasizing humility, and it has emphasized hope. So I would like to say that the current COVID-19 has emphasized humanity,
Yeah.
humility, and hope. Now, coming to the point of this mindfulness, this is very much required. If you look at Arianna Huffington,
Hmm.
okay, she's specialized in mindfulness. She's known as sleep evangelist. Okay, so she sleeps a little longer time, and most of the CEOs, they are taking more interest on mindfulness
Yeah.
because of the growing challenges. Because CEOs have a hell of a lot of challenges, especially because of this adversity,
Hmm.
like coronavirus, this ambiguity, all these things. So this we need to emphasize more on mindfulness, not only now and in the years to come.
Yeah, I agree. I
And
totally agree.
you asked one question some time back. What made me to give back to the society? See, the thing is, I rose from humble origins. I suffered a lot.
Hmm.
Nobody helped me to come up to this level. Okay, so I don't want people to suffer the way I suffered. So
Yeah.
I started helping people. I started sharing knowledge with the world because I suffered.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
don't want the people to suffer the way I suffered because I didn't get the opportunities. I'm 55 years old. Still, I am struggling for with financial challenges. Despite suffering from financial challenges, still I am adding value to the
Yeah.
world by sharing my knowledge, by inspiring the people, whatever the best possible way. So let me tell you one thing: the biggest gift you can give it to anybody is time. So I am giving my time because
Yeah.
my lifespan is fixed by God. So I am, because I don't have money, so I use my time. I invest my time for the people.
Hmm.
So sometimes people say, I don't have money. How can I help the people? You don't have money, fine. At least God has given you life. God
Yeah.
has given you time. Use that time by participating in non-profits. Investing your time is also a kind of an investment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I agree. I love that.
it's not an
And
excuse that it is not an excuse that I don't have money, I can't help people. So whatever the little things you can do, do it. Mother Teresa said, too many drops becomes a mighty ocean.
mhm.
So, so whatever the best you can do it by way of a drop, because
Mhm.
all these drops become a ocean.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we all have to contribute something so that we can build a better world.
Absolutely. And it's almost like the ripple effect as well. So the drops do a ripple, and the
Yeah,
ripple
yeah,
becomes a wave, and the ripple comes bigger and bigger, and then it splashes across the shore to another ocean. And then before you know it, that knowledge, which is the drop, goes around the world. Exactly how we're doing now and how we're connecting. And I hope this drop will turn into a wave and spread the knowledge for your gift of knowledge from around the world, and hopefully it will add some impact. The way I like to look at it is, if one person listens to this and it makes a massive impact to them, I think we've done our job, and we can sort of sleep happily tonight
excellent.
in the piece that we've done our job. We've empowered someone, and let's hope they give the gift to someone else, and then they give the gift to someone else. And I think that's wonderful, and that's one of my ethos in life, is to share knowledge, because the way of the world is it will come back to you in a different form. So if you give someone a gift, it will come back to you in whichever form that might be, financial, spiritual, or you get a connection of someone else or whatever it might be. So tell me this, how would you view your success? How do you see that?
Okay, I would respond to this question about my success. I thank you for paraphrasing about the ripple effect and how the changes we are making. I am grateful to you for paraphrasing my message in a right way to the listeners, and thank you for adding the value. Now, I also agree with you that when we give it to universe will give back to us.
Yeah.
You said it right, and it's a fact. If you
Yep,
do good things will come back to you. If you do bad things will come back to you.
yeah.
So we have to do good things to the society. Now, coming to the success, uh, I was born in an Indian society. In Indian society, we measure success by way of money,
Yeah.
not through knowledge. So, if you think I am successful, I don't agree with that. According to the Indian society.
But the way I perceive success, it's all different. It's not financial. It's can be anything. It can be physical success. It can be emotional success. It can be whatever you might look and feel to it, because it's all in there, and like it creates down through the whole of your body, and you feel successful because what you're actually giving back. So I really like that about you. So that's really wonderful, and that's a wonderful gift that you've given back to everyone.
That's what I'm going to say. You already said it. See, success we can't measure always through money. See, success means it has got various definitions. Okay, for me, success means getting up every day morning, adding value to the world, and sleep happily in the night by expressing gratitude to God. In that way, I am successful, because whatever the money that comes, we are not going to carry at the time of death. Okay, at the time of death, we carry good reputation or bad reputation. If we do good things, good people will remember that. Yes, Professor M.S. Rao has done certain good things. See, we remember Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela, not because they made money, but they served their societies. They brought the changes to the societies. So, in that way, I am successful, but not financially. I am not successful financially, but as an individual, I am successful. Although I have been struggling since my childhood to now, my life is painful with full of struggles. I am happy that I have done something for the students, something for the society, something for the world by sharing my knowledge. So in that way, I am very much successful. So I sleep happily every day night that yes, I have done something for the world. So thank you for putting my perspective in the right way.
Awesome. Just one last question. I could actually speak to you for hours on end, and maybe another podcast we will do, and we'll enlighten it a little bit more and make it grow, because there's lots of wonderful stuff that we can do together, and we can speak in a rich sort of language, because I sort of understand where you're coming from. Look, this is a cheeky question. It's not a cheeky question, but it's a fun question. So I was watching a TV program the other day on Netflix. If you get Netflix over in India, I'm sure you do, or a version. There was a TV program, but it's all superheroes and all of that. And one of these guys, they were selling these super pills, but they make you into a superhuman of some description. So they go like that, knock it back, and every pill does something different to every single person. So it can make you invisible, make you fly, make you super strong, and you have it. And then, but you have 5 minutes with this gift of this power. If you had a power like that, or a superpower, what would you be your superpower, and how would you use it?
Thank you for excellent question. Really touched my heart. It connected with my mind emotionally. See, if I had the superpowers, I would utilize those superpowers to build a world which emphasizes on humanity, which emphasizes on humility, which emphasizes on hope. I would like to use all the powers to build a world which is full of knowledge, which is peaceful, which is prosperous, so that we can become role models to our next generations.
Hmm. Wow, that's empowering. That's really, really, absolutely wonderful. Like, I have to really thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Again, I could have spoken to you for hours on end, and we've given some gifts back to people today, and that's wonderful. So I thank you very much for this session on this Mindful Leadership podcast, and it's wonderful. And for those that are listening in audio, this will be out in the next few weeks, and I'll be sharing the love and I'll be sharing the feedback. So thank you once again. Appreciate it.
I thank you from the core of my heart. This is one of the finest interviews I have attended in my life, because whatever the knowledge I have shared, that you put it in a better perspective by paraphrasing and adding value to your listeners. So I truly enjoyed this interview, and I express my gratitude to you for giving me this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.